Minnesota Vikings faithful, you are listening to the Purple People podcast. We're here to talk about Minnesota Vikings football. I am Kyle West, accompanied by the ladies' man, Adam Carlson.
Football.
And our one and only Kyle Smith. How are you today, gentlemen?
Well, I'm wet from this hurricane, but you know what? I'm here.
There you go. That's what I like to hear. Wait, hurricane? No, I only heard the first part. Sorry.
Giggity.
Sorry to open with a joke like that, but I'm Adam Carlson, and I'm here to talk football.
I'm not sorry. That was great.
This is a good opening.
This is episode number 172 of the Purple People podcast. This one is titled "She's the Manning." Now I know you guys are young enough to have seen "She's the Man." Amanda Bynes.
We talked about this recently.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That makes me happy.
That and it's got man in it, Manning. I was going to go for something chicken parm, but no.
That's a little overplayed. I like the She's the Manning.
Or something with Omaha. I don't know. I had options. Decided to go with Amanda Bynes. Why not? So let's go into the quick hits. This week we had some pretty interesting stuff. Not a lot of stuff, but some interesting stuff. Cordero Patterson talked about earning more playing time, and he said, "I don't know how much more I need to prove."
Okay, thank you, Cordero. Good luck in your future endeavors.
That statement does not turn me on.
No, not at all. Really? You don't have anything more to prove? So you're totally fine with being the one catch for a couple yards, gadget guy?
Now, that's not saying that we don't know what goes on in practice. Maybe in practice, he's lighting it up, he's working hard, he's staying longer, he's studying everything, getting ready. Maybe that's what's going on. It's the stuff that we don't get to see behind the scenes.
Well, we haven't heard that at all.
But I hope that's the case. I do.
It's been the exact opposite. It sounded like though everyone else would stick around after practice and Patterson be the first out the door. Just going on what I hear.
Linebacker Brian Peters was plucked from the Minnesota Vikings practice squad by the Houston Texans. It was sad. He was one of those guys I was hoping to watch grow and develop and maybe even earn a spot on the team in the future, but I wish him luck in everything going forward.
He's a bit of a preseason standout for Minnesota. Of course, you know how the practice squad works. Players get signed and released all the time, so he could eventually wind up back in Minnesota.
It's true.
Never know.
And remember, some talented people can get plucked from that practice squad.
Oh my gosh, I was just watching the Saints game last night. Guess who they did not a feature on him specifically, but guess who was up there on the screen with the other two linebackers?
Was it Michael Mahdi?
Yep, sure was. They mentioned his Minnesota time and everything. It's crazy how that runs around.
And don't forget, Minnesota plucked Charles Johnson from Cleveland's practice squad. So there are plenty of talented players that just need their opportunity. Hopefully he can get one there in Houston. Taking his place on the practice squad is Brock Vereen, a guy that is pretty familiar to fans in Minnesota.
Former Golden Gopher.
Brock Vereen.
He was what round pick was he? Was he a 4th round pick from Chicago?
I have no idea.
I believe he was a 4th round pick from Chicago, who is probably really super excited to no longer be playing for the Chicago Bears. I know I sure would be.
What I was reading on Twitter is people were saying, "Oh, this guy can't be good. He was cut by a team that has absolutely no talent." And here's the thing, though.
They have no direction.
How good are the Bears at evaluating their talent and using their talent?
They got rid of Jared Allen, too. He's not a bad talent. He just didn't fit the scheme. Yeah, I mean, and they're talking about trading Matt Forte away as well. That came up yesterday.
Big fire sale going on there.
I don't believe that. Whoever's saying that, don't buy the hype.
They're crazy and they have no direction, but that's okay.
They should trade Forte.
Oh, not that. I'm totally okay with that. I said it last year when we had trouble with Adrian. I think we could have got a decent tag for him, but the whole, how are they good at evaluating talent, Brock Vereen, blah, blah, blah. That's a young guy you can develop.
It's true.
Yeah, Mike Zimmer's good at evaluating and getting the most out of young guys like that. So I'm excited to see him on the practice squad. You know, he can develop and maybe if he's still with us in training camp next year, he's a guy that'll flash and maybe be able to get an active spot for us.
You never know. The good news was that Minnesota Vikings cornerback Xavier Rhodes passed his concussions test, and he was able to play in the game against Denver, and it made, in my mind, a pretty significant difference in that game. But we'll talk more about that coming up. But that hit that put him out between him and Anderson Dejo was scary.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad to hear that he was able to get healthy fast and get back on the playing field. I hope he didn't rush himself, but I am glad he's back. While we're on the topic of injuries, wide receiver Charles Johnson, who I mentioned earlier, is dealing with a rib injury that caused him to sit out the game against Denver. On the flip side of that coin, we have Stefon Diggs, who was activated in his place. We're not sure how long Charles Johnson will be out, so I'm assuming as long as Charles Johnson is out, that Stefon Diggs will be in.
Diggsy.
Assuming.
I think that's a pretty good assumption.
Well, while we're talking about Stefon Diggs, did you hear what Mike Wallace had to say about him?
I did.
He said that Stefon Diggs could be better than me. That's what Mike Wallace said. And he said Mike Wallace said that Stefon Diggs reminds him of Antonio Brown, which is a massive compliment, considering
I did not hear this yet.
Antonio Brown might be the best wide receiver in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Might be. It's arguable, but it's possible.
That's crazy. I have not heard this yet. That's like Adrian saying, "Man, you remind me of me." That's fantastic.
And now I'm going to talk for a couple minutes to buy a little bit of time because I don't have the stats pulled up for the game. But there was a football game, and it was between the Minnesota Vikings and the Denver Broncos. It was a lot of fun. So let's talk about game balls and donkeys. That's what we want to hear, right?
Yeah, sure.
Absolutely.
I believe Mr. Smith already spilled the beans on who he picked, so he might as well lead the way.
You know what? That's in my profession. They say that the canine leads the way. I'll lead the way on this one. How about Teddy Bridgewater? I told you guys last week he was going to need to play the game of his career. Now, I think all three of us would agree, and most of you would agree out there, he did not play the game of his career. However, fun fact of the day, and I'll keep it short and sweet. I gave him my game ball because he did not turn the ball over. He did have a fumble at the end, but in the defense, and we will talk about this when we bring it up in the game, he was under pressure like I have never seen before. And usually when Teddy is under pressure, he does not perform very well up to this point in which we've evaluated. He outperformed Peyton Manning yesterday on the stat board. Take that for what you will. Better quarterback rating, no picks, more yards, better completion percentage. Well, I think I may be wrong on the completion percentage, but they were close together. So,
but my problems with Teddy Bridgewater was the short average per completion. The fact that I know he was sacked 7 times. A lot of that, the fault isn't him, but some of it was.
It was his skinny knees, Adam. That's why he got sacked.
But the Minnesota Vikings asked Teddy Bridgewater to pass the ball 41 times.
Whew, boy.
That's an elite set of cornerbacks.
Number 1 defense in the NFL, right?
41 pass attempts. Amazing.
No picks. I'm super proud of him for that.
Yeah, actually, I agree with you. Considering we got, Peyton Manning twice?
Yeah.
We got the sheriff. Our Minnesota defense got the sheriff. Peyton Manning twice. But more on that later. I'm going to give my game ball to Stefon Diggs. Diggsy, 6 receptions for 87 yards.
That's another tough one.
Long for 25. I know it's tough because he's got to do a better job of holding onto the football. He had the 2 fumbles. He was able to recover himself, but young kid, big game, first time being active.
We'll call it a rookie coming out party. He had a couple rookie moments.
Exactly. What I liked about Diggsy is that he was finding ways to get himself separation and get open and make plays for Teddy Bridgewater. And that, in turn, was helping out Mike Wallace, who I felt probably had his best game as a Minnesota Viking, just by having someone to complement him on the field. And you were seeing Denver was actually shuffling their corners around between Diggs and Wallace on who to cover, and that is good. That is what we like to see. So
there was no game tape on Stefon Diggs. They had no idea what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
And Teddy Bridgewater comes out and throws the ball at Stefon Diggs 10 times tied for the most on the team with Mike Wallace. But Stephon Diggs only caught 6 of his passes in his direction, but he ended up leading the team in receiving yards with 87.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah, Teddy seems pretty comfortable, like you said, for a young kid who was just stepping in first game. They must have had some pretty good practices throughout the week and prior to this, because he was pretty comfortable with throwing it to Stephon Diggs.
And let's talk about something else for a minute with Stephon Diggs. Did he leap ahead of Cordero Patterson in the depth chart?
Yeah,
I would
Because
absolutely say
of
yes.
course.
Diggs got targeted 10 times and Patterson got targeted once. Is that a statement of Teddy Bridgewater's trust for Patterson? Is it a statement for Zimmer's evaluation of giving Patterson playing time? There's too many questions about why this situation is going on the way it is, that the guy that just got activated, the rookie, is getting significantly more playing time and getting much more high-profile situations than the guy that the Vikings traded up for in the first round and should want to establish himself as the guy in Minnesota. Patterson should want that. So
It's okay,
I'm
though,
confused
Patterson.
What's going on here?
It's okay. Patterson don't have anything to prove. He's comfortable. He's comfortable with where he's at. Doesn't have anything to prove, Adam.
It's just tough. It's tough to watch this situation with Cordero Patterson. It's going down a bad alley. But my game ball, and I hate to be a broken record, and I know that you guys are getting tired of me saying it, Linval Joseph is playing lights out football.
We're not getting tired of you saying that. That's a fantastic choice.
This guy, the more I watch, the more impressed I get. Last season, I didn't see this version of Linval Joseph last year, but that's probably because he shot himself in the leg. No, he didn't shoot himself in the leg. He got shot in the leg.
Yeah, someone else shot him.
Yeah,
It was a nightclub shooting, right?
Right, outside a nightclub.
It was weird. Let's not talk about it.
But it seems like his confidence is there. He's pushing everyone around, getting tackles in the backfield, disrupting plays. He is pushing players so far back that the running back that's trying to get by just cannot get past him, clogging things up in the middle. Him and Sharif Floyd have an amazing future coming up in Minnesota, and it's so much fun to see.
Year 2 of Mike Zimmer's defense. Imagine what this is going to look like in a couple more years.
This was a hard game for me. Seeing Mike Wallace have a fantastic game, and he's starting to live up to the hype. Seeing his speed. His speed was respected yesterday. Diggs coming out. I absolutely wanted to give my game ball to Anthony Barr or Harrison Smith, too. We had a lot of good play yesterday.
Yeah, any of those options would have been mighty fine. Anthony Barr played lights-out football as well.
You know, I was jokingly, when I told you guys this during the conversation, that Anthony Barr is kind of like our J.J. Watt. But, I mean, really, Anthony Barr is a damn good player for Minnesota, and he's very versatile in the stuff that he can do for this team. And he's just going to be exciting to watch his career unfold for Minnesota.
Absolutely. Mr. Smith, you also spoiled your donkey, so have at her.
So, I mentioned earlier that Teddy was sacked 7 times. Obviously, there's room for improvement there. However, before I give this donkey out, let me give those guys credit. This is the best defense in the NFL right now. That could change. Their pass rush is nightmarish. I cannot imagine. And the ways that they set up, they had so many good plays. They had a safety blitz yesterday I didn't even see coming. I don't know how Teddy avoided it, but I know, and if you guys watch, Teddy has got to get rid of the ball sometimes. He hangs on a lot more than I want him to, and a lot of us want to. But we had a chance with maybe a minute left, 30-some seconds left. TJ Clemmings gets burst right through, and I'm not going to blame it on one single play. I could have given it to Blair Walsh.
Clemmings got ran past. Adrian Peterson failed to block completely.
I have to give it to one guy. I hate giving it to a specific group because I don't think that shows how well they played. He must have did something good for completing all those passes yesterday. TJ Clemmings, the very end of the game, he got blown past. And I think if he could have played a little bit better there, other spots of the game as well, I really saw us tying that game and going into overtime with a chance. That was a heartbreaking way to end the game.
To be fair, Clemmings was given a nearly impossible assignment.
Yes.
Handling Von Miller. blitzing on the outside. I don't know what you can really expect from a rookie that was forced into play. He was scheduled to be a backup. He wasn't going to be a starter this year. When Phil Lodeholt comes back, he will take that spot back. But for now, TJ Clemmings is doing the best he can given the fact that he hasn't really had time to acclimate to the pro level yet, and we've seen him play at high levels in other games. I just really feel like the assignment he was given this week was above what he was ready for.
I have a hard time really ragging on TJ Clemmings because, like you said, Adam, the situation he was put in was incredibly tough, and I think by and large, he's performed pretty well for Minnesota over the stretch of games. But you're right, the blocking as a whole did leave much to be desired, especially on that play, and for it to end with that fumble from Teddy was really heartbreaking.
It's true. I'll go next. I'll break things up here. Chad Greenway. Sorry, Chad.
Especially after last week.
You were not getting it done. Greenway had a horrible miscommunication with Audie Cole on a play that left a wide receiver or a tight end wide open in the end zone. And this is a play that the Vikings have bid on several times in the past. This is one they should be ready for. Both of them bid on the play fake, both him and Audie Cole. And I'm giving it to Chad Greenway in particular because he didn't do anything else in the game. Audie Cole had some nice moves on special teams. He played the run a little bit better, I thought. But Chad Greenway, I'm struggling with you here, buddy.
I'm going to pull an audible on mine. I was going to go with Cordero Patterson, but I think we've probably said just about enough on Cordero at this point. I don't know if we really need to go there anymore. So I am going to go with our offensive coordinator, Norv Turner. Because, yeah, I think it is very fair, because I do not understand, you made a very good point, Adam, the game plan of coming in and having Teddy throw the ball so much. Now, I do understand it's really easy to say, we're going to give the ball to Adrian, we're going to let Adrian run the ball, but he was getting stuffed quite a bit. You know, I know he ended up with 81 yards total for the game, but there was a lot of times that he was just not getting it done. So when you don't get the ground game going, it's tough to, you gotta try to get something going to win the game as it unfolds. But there have been times, not just in this game, but in prior, where I kind of feel like they get a little too cute and a little too creative with some of the play calls on trying to do dumb gadgety things that I don't really like. And also, I know you have the system, and you believe in the system because it's your system and that's what you want to run, but you also do have Adrian and these shotgun runs with Adrian, blah, blah, blah. Hey, just utilize him to the best of his ability, and that is like running him out of the I formation. That's what he's best at. And that's
how do they keep Teddy upright then?
Fucking, pardon the language, but block. I mean, do your job up front and block.
Because the offensive line is so injury depleted that Teddy Bridgewater almost has to be taking snaps out of the shotgun in order to have time to pull a play off.
Well, on the positive, they have a bye week coming up, so figure it out. Figure it out in this bye week.
I was going to cut through your quick hit. I don't know how in the heck after that horrible whiplash last week Xavier got cleared, but everybody on this team, and Adrian even acknowledged it. I'm going to talk about that later in my bold statement. He even said, dude, I need this bye week. Everybody needs this bye week. And I absolutely despise a week 5. I wouldn't like a bye week until at least week 7 or 8. But, hey, you know what? This is what we were handed, so this is it.
I don't understand why the offensive plan was still to have Teddy Bridgewater try to do these 5-7 step drops. They knew he didn't have time for that. Schedule some screens, some slants, some dives, anything, some drags, just something, anything to get things open fast. And then use that to open up the run game, and then you can take that to establish the longer pass. This is like basic football here. And I know that offensive coordinators are paid to do what they do because they do it well, and I'm just a guy sitting at home talking through a headset trying to figure out what happened here, but all in all, it's just frustrating trying to figure out what the idea was going forward here.
And
Did they not watch the tape and see the pass rush, or did they figure that the offensive line was solid enough at this point to hold up? Because at some point in the game, changes should have been made. This is the problem that we had under Leslie Frazier, is that adjustments weren't made when they were supposed to be.
And how many times are we going to be on second and forever, third and forever, and throw some stupid 2-yard screen bubble pass? Can we stop with that? I mean,
Just not all the time, not as often.
yes, just every now and then.
I'm just thinking about this. I do want to jump in with a positive. Can I just say, obviously the defense, it absolutely gives me chills watching them play. Everybody is playing up to, I think, almost 80 to 90% of the defense is playing up to their potential. Can I just say, Mike Zimmer having the balls to go into Denver and go for it on 4th and 1 twice yesterday made me just super ecstatic. And I'm not going to go against you guys because I do 100% agree. I don't like Adrian out of the shotgun, but I don't like Teddy getting knocked around, dropping back, et cetera, et cetera. Can I just say that Norv, the one thing that he did do well, even though Adrian didn't get as much attempts as I wanted yesterday, he still gave him the ball and still pounded it up the middle. And that run that he broke out for 41 yards was vintage, classic, will be in his highlight reel of Adrian Peterson awesomeness. That was one of the best plays of the year, one of my favorites from him.
18 runs with a running back, 41 passes. That's a hard ratio.
You wanted a little more even than that.
That's a tough one to go forward with. But that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. Let's dig into the stats a little bit here. We didn't have anything too particular. We talked about Teddy Bridgewater's numbers, him getting sacked 7 times. We talked about Adrian Peterson having 81 yards on the 16 carries. However, and I hate doing this because it kind of, running backs have to wear down a defense. I get that. But if you subtract the 48-yard touchdown from the 81 yards, you get 33 yards on 15 carries. So he's averaging almost 2 yards a carry aside from the one he broke.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of the point that I was trying to say is that, it's really easy to say we'll run the ball with Adrian, but, I mean, you do subtract the one big run, and they did do a really good job of stuffing Adrian for most of the game.
They did. They did a very good job. There's a reason they're the number 1 defense in the NFL.
Yes.
And Adrian Peterson showed there's a reason why he's arguably the best running back in the NFL. Because despite those circumstances, he was able to break through and score that long touchdown. We talked about Stephon Diggs and Mike Wallace having great games. What we didn't talk about was Adam Thielen, 6 catches, 70 yards. Another big performance from him.
He responds well under pressure.
Step up as much. Yeah, I like it. Disappointing, though. Kyle Rudolph targeted 4 times, 2 catches, 7 yards.
Oh, my gosh. I don't know how it works in the football world because I don't match up. I know when tight ends or in linebackers and stuff like that, it's great. But their safety yesterday had Kyle Rudolph's number the entire day. The entire day. And that made me, especially, what was it, last week? Did he drop a touchdown? Dude, you are not living up to this money we paid you. Come on. You got to find some ways to get separated and get some space in there. You are Teddy's security blanket.
He's Ponder's security blanket. And the rapport, I'm serious, he's Ponder's blanket, and the rapport is just not there with Teddy. It's just not.
Like I said last show, it's nice to see Teddy looking to the wide receivers rather than looking to the tight end or someone in the flat constantly. It's nice because we got too used to, with Christian Ponder, the short passes to the running back or tight end, completely ignoring the wide receivers. So it's good to see Teddy doing that. But
I mean,
Kyle Rudolph is getting paid like a top-tier NFL tight end. He can't block like a top-tier tight end. And right now he's not owning up to being a top receiving tight end. So there's that. Defensively, Anthony Barr. This guy everywhere, like we
Monster.
said, 6 total tackles, 1 pass defended. Good stuff from Barr. That pick was beautiful.
He,
He almost had another one too, right?
He did. He
yes.
Yeah.
did. That was
You
real
know what's
close.
crazy? You remember a couple years ago when we went to the playoffs and San Francisco had like the nastiest linebacker core in the NFL? And I'm not going to jump too ahead of myself because we'll have to have another solid third there. I love Hodges, don't get me wrong, but you see Eric Kendricks flying around too. These two could be the dynamic duo for the next 5 to 7 years of just nastiness. I am so high on these two.
When we got these 2 guys next to each other there, and then we got the 2 guys up front in the middle, we got Everson Griffin on the end. This team, this young defense is built to succeed. Harrison Smith, Xavier Rhodes. When Trey Waynes gets ready to go, that'll be awesome too. This team is young, hungry, and ready to roll. It's so exciting.
And then in the middle of it, you have old man Terrence Newman out there still making plays
Dude,
for Minnesota.
he's
I
still-
love that too. That is so cool.
You know what it is? I truly believe it's because he wants to play for Zimmer. I don't think when you're that old that you go to a team like us who's not really in rebuild mode, but kind of on the rise. I don't think you come here unless you absolutely know, man, I love this guy. I want to play for him.
No, I don't think he saw this as an opportunity like to go get a ring or anything. I think it was that respect for Zimmer that helped draw him here.
He
100%.
understands the system, and he plays the exact kind of football that Mike Zimmer preaches. And that is, don't go make the big flashy play, just be in position, and good things will happen because of it. And yeah, that's Terrence Newman. He's so
Exactly.
yeah.
I mentioned Trey Waynes earlier, and it's fun to see him being sprinkled in on defense.
Mm-hmm.
Because he got in this game a couple times, and you never heard anyone on Twitter, because if you're hanging out on Twitter during the game, it's really interesting to see fans complain and try to figure out what's going on. But you never once heard, oh, Trey Waynes is coming in the game, or look at that boneheaded play by Trey Waynes. He came in, he had 2 tackles on the game. Both of them were solo tackles. One of the biggest criticisms, like I say every time I talk about Trey Waynes, people said he couldn't finish as a tackler. He's finishing as a tackler, guys.
Mm-hmm.
And we've already praised Harrison Smith enough. The guy's fantastic.
You can never not praise him. How expensive is his contract going to be when we re-sign him?
It'll
I
be
hope
worth
he's
it.
not looking for Cam Chancellor money.
Oh boy, he could command whatever he wants on the open market.
He absolutely, and you know it was great too reading that article earlier in the week about Peyton giving him a shout out and giving him respect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That kid is as advertised. I love that kid.
One of the things I loved too was that Harrison Smith heard about the praise from Peyton Manning. Not only did he seem humbled, but he threw the praise right back, and he had a genuine story as to why he respects Peyton Manning so much. It was fantastic. I really enjoyed it.
I don't think Harrison will try to gouge Minnesota for an excessive amount of money.
Well, he's got to try to get what he's worth.
He'll
It's the NFL.
totally get what he's worth, and I totally respect that. He should be paid like one of the top safeties in the league. But I don't think that he'll try to go to an outrageous different position. But Albert,
See, I'd agree with you if I thought it was Harrison,
Mhm.
but I can't agree with you because it's the NFL and their agents.
Very valid point. Very valid point, Adam.
Because agents will try to get every single penny they can.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't blame them, because the bigger the players cut, the bigger their cut. It's just the way it works. And Harrison Smith, when comes time to negotiate his contract, which will be very soon, it's going to be messy. It will. But hopefully they'll be able to come to a compromise. I'm not thinking that Harrison Smith has any interest in leaving the Vikings. But I do think that if the Vikings lay down an offer that's too insulting, I do think that his agent will definitely know that for sure.
Mm-hmm. And I don't think Spielman, he loves to pay his homegrown talent, and Harrison Smith he's one of our guys, and they'll find a way to pay him and make sure that he's locked up for a long time here in purple.
Yeah, there's a reason the Vikings didn't go out like people wanted this offseason and spend a ton of money on free agents.
Mm-hmm.
They're saving that money up so that they can re-sign their own guys, have some carryover for the cap, be able to kick it around and re-sign guys like Matt Khalil if they deem it necessary. And to be honest, at this point,
Matt Khalil's playing
had
really
a nice
good.
back year so far.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
to me, Matt Khalil's going to need to be signed. And what's nice is that because of his struggles, that contract won't be as massive. And of course, the big deal for Harrison Smith. So the money's going to need to be there. And I'm glad they didn't go out and waste it bringing in a guy to play a year or two that might not even fit in the scheme or
How
anything
well
like fun.
how
I like
well's Ndamukong Suh doing for Miami right now? Oh, that's right, they just fired their head coach. I mean, it's every off season. It's the same story. There's some big player that gets some huge, outrageous contract, goes somewhere, and then it's like it doesn't even matter.
Well, let's take a little stop from Vikings talking here. Let's talk about the Dolphins for a second
Oh yeah,
because I read a story today that has me absolutely my mind blown. I can't wrap my head around this. Okay, so the Dolphins' former coach doesn't want to hurt Ryan Tannehill's confidence. And I understand that he's a quarterback that needs to be out there
the coach they
making
just
plays and stuff
fired,
like that. Yeah,
Joe
the
Phil.
old coach.
Okay,
Now, what they were doing was whenever Ryan Tannehill was going up against the practice squad, Tannehill was struggling. He was
Oh
getting
my
picked
gosh, I
off.
just read this story today. It's
He was
fantastic.
having turnovers and stuff like that. The old coach went up to the practice squad and told them to take it easy so that Ryan Tannehill wouldn't lose his confidence.
you gotta be kidding me. That's the first time I've heard of this. Wow.
Not only that, but Ryan Tannehill was getting so upset with his practice squad owning him that he was
Here's
taunting
the
them
kicker.
by making fun of their paychecks and saying that they'll never make the roster.
Holy. Whoa. Really?
Yeah, this is the story that came out
Wow.
today.
No wonder Mike Wallace hated him.
And this is the Dolphins organization that Mike Wallace wanted to get away from.
Boy, I feel so sorry for Greg Jennings.
It's amazing. When I read this story, I was thinking I can't imagine Mike Zimmer going up to the Vikings defense and saying, "Oh, you can't rattle Teddy Bridgewater.
What
Take
a
it easy on him for a little while."
what a pushover coach for one thing.
Wow. And what a lack of confidence in Tannehill if this story is accurate. And so far I've seen nobody refuting it. If this story is accurate,
That is
I can't believe
amazing.
a team is run that way. And the Minnesota Vikings are not run that way. If Zimmer comes out and he has his defense taking on Teddy Bridgewater, and the defense is taking care of Teddy Bridgewater, I'm 100% positive.
Mike Zimmer is going to be proud of his defense.
He's going to walk to Teddy and say, "Do you want Sean Hill to start next week? Because you're not going to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to start
too.
playing like that." That's crazy. I read that same story today, and it's so funny it ended up on the Vikings podcast. But just what a pompous little douche. I'm sorry. That is just you got paid. Congratulations. You know, Jay Cutler got paid, and he sucks. So
Yeah. I hope
ask
you
him
enjoy
what
your
it's like.
practice squad money.
Yeah, you know
I
what?
hope you enjoy being
next
unemployed.
year. Yeah, enjoy next year when you're unemployed. That won't matter because they make millions of dollars. But that's super irritating. I'm glad, for the most part, I don't think we have anybody that would do that on the Vikings squad. I'd rather. Oh, that's terrible.
That story blew my mind.
Who's on their practice? Is their practice squad that good? Or is
I don't know.
I mean, is their practice squad like the historic Miami Dolphins defense or something?
Maybe
Like,
he's just that mediocre. I don't know.
Hey, in my opinion, he's the best Texas A&M quarterback to come in the NFL in the last 10 years. So,
I wonder what the Vikings practice squad did to Ponder.
I can almost picture Brad Childress or
Leslie Frazier.
Leslie Frazier going up and saying, "Let's take it easy on this time. Let's see what he's got. Go half speed."
I don't even think Leslie Frazier would do that because, I mean, he was a
And then
better.
take the entire team out for ice cream.
Yeah, they
Yes.
take Ponder out for ice cream.
When did we get ice cream?
Yeah, exactly. But like we said, the Denver Broncos getting back into the game. They got the number one defense. And I'm sure that no matter how much Mike Zimmer asked them, they wouldn't take it easy on Teddy Bridgewater.
No.
And Peyton Manning had an amazing game. Ronnie Hillman jumping over C.J. Anderson in the depth chart this game. Personally, I never saw the huge appeal in C.J. Anderson. I saw him as like a goal line type guy to be able to smash through with
I don't like.
Matt Asiata. I that's what I saw. I never liked Monte Ball in the first place.
Everybody loved him because of a good year of fantasy.
Yeah, fantasy football people, if you drafted CJ Anderson, I'm so sorry for you guys, man. Because the experts were telling you to take him in the first round. So I hope that you completely avoided that situation. But being asked to cover a guy like Demaryius Thomas or Emmanuel Sanders, I can't understand the struggle, the difficulty it would be mentally for a guy like Terrence Newman or Xavier Rhodes, because these guys are two of the best in the NFL.
Can we talk about that Xavier Rhodes article you showed me earlier, Adam?
Sure.
I talk about something that I don't agree with at all. Um, maybe you can word it quicker and faster than I can, but basically you showed me an article where they called Xavier Rhodes just a horrible bad player, and that he's just having an awful season.
Right.
And
The article, I posted a rebuttal to it on the Viking Age if you want to check it out.
it's just outrageous. I don't know what player are people watching, because I think Xavier Rhodes is playing pretty darn good football for Minnesota. What do you guys think?
I think, like I said earlier, he's being asked to cover some of the top guys in the NFL. Calvin Johnson, Keenan Allen, Demaryius Thomas, even some of the wily veterans in San Francisco. These guys are the real deal. It's not like he's going out there with a piece of cake schedule covering, Joe Blow from Tokyo. It's just not the case.
I want that jersey.
Hey, Josh Freeman might have that one soon enough.
I agree, and this is going to be a year. I don't think he's coming up on his the year where he's going to sign a lot of money yet. I think that's next year, but he wanted that job. We drafted him in the first round to be a number one corner. So, I mean, if you wanted to prove yourself, this is the year. Our schedule is no easy cakewalk, and even the teams where I thought we were going to run through them, like later on in the season, the Giants, they're probably going to win the NFC East. And the Atlanta Falcons are awesome this year. I am not looking forward to going there and playing a game.
No.
We got the Seahawks coming up. We still haven't even played Green Bay yet. Like, we have a lot of good games coming up, but that is going to be some awesome competition for Xavier, because every single one of those teams that I just mentioned has awesome wide receivers, or at least one star wide receiver.
Absolutely.
So,
We got matches against Alshon Jeffrey, Calvin Johnson, Jeremy Maclin, Amari Cooper, Julio Jones, Larry Fitzgerald, Odell Beckham. We got all these guys coming up.
Yeah, and I think corner is one of the toughest positions. Actually, I think it's probably the toughest position to play in the NFL. You got to run backwards. You don't know where the guy you're covering is going. And guess what? The NFL doesn't
Right.
want you to do anything, any hint of contact, and you're going to get flagged for it. It is incredibly difficult to do what Xavier Rhodes does, and I think he's playing perfectly fine for Minnesota.
Me too. I think he's doing what's asked of him.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he's containing the number ones. I mean, he's not shutting them down by any means. We lost our shutdown corner when Chris Cook. Damn it! I couldn't even finish that without laughing.
Listen, talking about bad corners for Minnesota, go put the tape on. Go watch Leslie Frazier's tape of Chris Cook, and you'll see what a bad corner looks like.
It's amazing how far the Vikings have come with their cornerback situation, and the fact that we're able to nitpick Xavier Rhodes, and for them to say, "Oh, he's not having as good a year." Is he completely horrible? No, he's absolutely not completely horrible. He's playing his first game back after a concussion.
Yeah, what looked like a bad concussion on top of that. Not that
He might
there's
be playing a little scared. I wouldn't blame him. Heck, after a collision like that, I might have asked the coach, maybe take the day off, but Xavier Rhodes ain't that kind of guy. So that's the way that goes right there. Let's go into our question of the week. We had a good one. Are you disappointed in the play of Teddy Bridgewater so far? I have to admit I didn't get many answers, and I bet you this is a question that not a lot of people wanted to answer. And I can understand why, because either you say, no, I'm pleased with what Teddy Bridgewater is doing, and you're saying that you're fine with the way he is, or you say, no, I'm not happy, and you look like someone who's cutting down the team. It's a tough question either way. We only had a couple people that are really kind of saying yes. Kevin McMahon, we know him from Twitter and things like that. He says yes so far. Straight and to the point. You got to appreciate that. Corbin Johnson says he's just getting warmed up. Tommy Gunn. We love Tommy Gunn. He said, after seeing this game against the Broncos, I put this on the protection. So I'm assuming he's saying he's not disappointed in Teddy. He believes that if Teddy has the time, he can pull things off, and so forth and so forth. Nathan Lee Goskinen says, I'm not worried at all. He's out there managing games thus far while AP is the focal point. His struggles have been there, but I believe that has more to do with our patchwork offensive line than Teddy's skill. Be patient, Vikings fans. Teddy's the real deal. Thomas Bouge says, I'm not necessarily disappointed, but I did expect more. It especially upsets me when Carr looks like the real deal. It can be easy to get into the game of what if and the grass being greener. I feel like if we can't look at Teddy correctly until we strengthen the offensive line and add a big name receiver not named Mike Wallace.
I agree with that until you get to the Mike Wallace part, because I think Mike Wallace is doing an admirable enough job. I don't know if he's worth what they're paying him. That's a whole another story we can get onto. But yeah, definitely protect Teddy better than what they're doing, and then you'll see better things from him.
I absolutely have to go on a little side rant about that too. Derek Carr is not dismissible as a quarterback. He's very good. However, I'll go against something that I think is just sacrilegious to me. I'll talk down about Brett Favre. He had the touchdown record forever. Peyton Manning ultimately surpassed him. Breaks my heart. But he also has the interception record. Derek Carr throws a lot of touchdowns, which means he throws a lot of picks. And you know what? If I could sway any of you that are going on this argument, I had it with the guys before the show. I would rather have a quarterback who wins us football games than has a lot of stats. And I'll be honest with you, I love Mike Wallace. I love all of our receivers dearly. Amari Cooper is better than them, and that's my opinion. He's still young. Mike Wallace could probably show him up in a couple of areas, but Amari Cooper is a monster.
Yeah.
We don't have a star Julio Jones. We don't have Odell Beckham Jr. on our team at wide receiver. And I got to give Teddy a little bit of credit there with our two best offensive linemen going down. I would rather see him play it safe and not have flashy numbers. But hey, a week later, what did I say? What did I say earlier for the game ball? And I'll shut up after this. But this is when you have a better stat day than Peyton Manning, that's a good thing. I know he's on the tail end of his career. I know their defense is awesome, but I'm going to ride the coattails of that as long as I could. He played pretty damn good yesterday. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty satisfied with it. So I'm glad.
And I got to do the last guy right here. I do, because after commenting back to him, he wrote, hopefully my comment is enough to get me on the next show. So that kind of pandering, I'll play to it.
Yeah, if you want to get on the show, just pander to us, folks. Pandering always works.
I totally buy into pandering.
Yes.
John Weakness says, just heard this question on the podcast, so thanks for listening, man. I think he's been doing well on extending plays with his feet. He's been doing well on crossing routes with Jarius. If you watch the game against the Chargers, I was watching with a Chargers fan. We both noticed how the Vikings took more than double the shots downfield. We all agree Rudolph should have caught that touchdown. Probably more than average game should allow. With AP's emergence, it'll be positive for our passing game. Just look at the preseason. It took 3 games before we bombed down the field to Wallace. Mm-hmm. Now the game tape our opponents will study will revolve around Peterson. This has been the idea all season, and the pieces are falling into place. Teddy's fine, and I predict a 40-plus yard screen pass to Charles Johnson this Sunday. Well, Charles Johnson sat out that game, but I'm still going to give him credit because Teddy had, I'm going to say, an above-average performance despite the offensive line against the Broncos. So I'll give him a thumbs up on that one. And he said we'll also have a 15 to 20-yard screen. I think he did have one, to be honest. So I'll give him a thumbs up on that one as well. Thanks, John. We appreciate the feedback. Mm-hmm. Next week, what is the biggest adjustment that you think the Minnesota Vikings should make going into the bye week? They're going to have a week to think about things, make some changes. What should the Vikings focus on going into their week off?
Protection schemes. What can we do to maximize protection schemes to keep Teddy upright?
I read a horrible joke online, but I'm going to tell it anyway.
Let's hear it.
Well, it's not so much a joke, but it was a comment on Twitter. They were talking about how Adrian Peterson is poor in pass protection. And somebody replied that Adrian Peterson doesn't believe in protection at all because look at all his baby mamas. It's a low blow, but it's kind of funny.
This is really funny. I like that.
When you know the situation, it's kind of funny, but on the surface, the situation itself is not funny. Not funny. Don't get me wrong. I'm not advocating promiscuity. I'm not advocating not being safe. I'm not advocating any of that. I do advocate funny comments. I do.
You know what? I advocate keeping Teddy Bridgewater upright.
I like it.
We gotta keep Teddy Bridgewater upright. We can't have him getting sacked. All that.
Let me go to the app real quick, just so we can ad lib for 5 more seconds, like Adam did earlier. I'm trying to look up and see. We got the Chiefs after that. You know what? We're at home. I love us being at home. But let's focus on. I'm just gonna jump back on the wagon with Kyle. Keep them upright, because guess what? Kansas City is known for their freaking defense. I'm really excited too. I said this earlier. I was gonna to go into the bold statement with this. How about Adrian Peterson being not the 30-year-old Adrian Peterson everybody just kind of downed on this year? Now, San Francisco, I'm going to count this as a 15-game season. I don't know about you guys, but we're 2-1 in my league. So we got a lot of fans and friends of mine who said, man, he doesn't need to trade him. Man, he's getting old. I don't think he's going to be doing anything. Even yesterday, I don't blame Adrian's lack of yards yesterday on his part. Best defense in the NFL. And I just got to say, minus the San Francisco game, this guy is every bit as capable as just carrying this team on his shoulders as we thought we could. And I'm really proud of how he stepped up and admits these things. I think 2,500 yards is impossible to get, but I'd like that he still sets the goal high. We paid him. We've taken care of him. He knows we're loyal. And he still wants to go out there and set the bar high. And I love that. I just got to say, 30 ain't so bad on you, AP. That's my statement for the week. Yeah, it's looking pretty good on you. I like what I'm seeing so far. I don't know about you guys.
Well, there's a reason why Adrian Peterson's the leading rusher in the NFL right now. 372 yards through 4 games. He will lose that title through next week because of the bye week. But it'll be interesting to see how fast he can get that back, if he can.
When he gets it back.
Now, he has 3 rushing touchdowns on the season. He's got a long way to go to catch the leader in rushing touchdowns. Does anyone want to guess who it is?
Zach Line?
No.
He should have, 2 more touchdowns because they keep giving him to Zach Line. Stop it, Norv.
Can you give me a hint? Will you tell me if it's NFC or AFC?
It is NFC.
I want to say it's the kid from Atlanta.
Devonta Freeman, Atlanta Falcons.
Boom.
There you go. 7 rushing touchdowns on the year so far.
Holy crap, already? We'll just take a line from Jay Cutler's book, like I said a couple weeks ago. Let's just give Adrian the ball 40 times a game. We'll see what happens.
On that note, that's all I have for this week. Do you guys have anything else you want to add before we go?
Insert Kyle West photography plug. What's going on?
Oh, well, okay, sure. No Vikings special this week because we didn't win, but that's okay. Maybe we will run one the next time we get one up, but you should check my stuff out anyway.
Well, maybe you should run a Halloween special.
KyleWestPhotography.com. I will be running October specials. That is a good idea, Adam.
I like it. Mm-hmm. And some chicks on cars.
Exactly. I sold a photograph of a squirrel that someone put on a pillow. So I'm telling you guys, there is all kinds of stuff on my website, KyleWestPhotography.com. Check it out. You should buy something. They make great Christmas presents.
Support small and local businesses. You can never go wrong.
Exactly.
I've already plugged the Viking Age. I'm going to plug Undead Walking because Sunday, the Vikings may not be playing, but we have the Season 6 premiere of The Walking Dead. It's going to be a huge event. Join us on Undead Walking. I'll be covering every little bit of it I can.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that. You know what? That's what I'm going to do Sunday. Thank you for that.
No problem.
But I'm going to go on a little spiel here. I just wanted to say my thoughts and prayers go out to all the families that were affected by Hurricane Joaquin. I was telling the guys over the weekend, had to evacuate all the dogs out of the kennel that I work at this weekend for the Air Force up at Langley. Wasn't so bad in Virginia. There were plenty of areas that got flooded, but I have a special near and dear place in my heart for Charleston, South Carolina. I was stationed there for 4 years. I actually want to retire there. It's a fantastic city. The people are amazing, and they're all pretty wet and underwater right now. So any and all families that have been affected by this, send prayers. If you have the funds, try to help them out if you can find a way. This did not go how I thought it was going to go, and man, in the middle of October, or the beginning of October, I did not see a huge hurricane coming to tear through the East Coast. So hopefully everybody from there can, get back to normal as fast as they can.
Yeah, Charleston's been through a lot the last couple of years, and they could use any of the help they can get. With that, I'd like to thank everyone for listening. Remember to hit us up on the Facebook page. That's facebook.com/Purple People Podcast. That's us. At Purple People Pod on Twitter. That's where you can find Mr. Kyle West. Sometimes Mr. Kyle Smith. I don't know. Me and
Some days.
Mr. Smith also kind of dually handle the Facebook page, plug it in whenever. In the meantime, I hope that you guys enjoy the bye week. We'll still have a show next week, even though there won't be much to talk about. Maybe we'll discuss more things with the Miami Dolphins. Who knows? But either way, thanks for listening, and remember to stay classy, Minnesota.